Hey everybody, this is Ryan.
And this is Kyle.
And you're listening to The Doctor's Watcher,
the Doctor Who podcast for people who don't know things about English and Scottish history.
Perfectly suited to the both of us.
Indeed. Come join us as we learn things that are probably inaccurate, because I don't think the Doctor Who staff actually paid that much attention to that.
Right. And if you do know things about English and or Scottish history, get the hell out. Just kidding. Just kidding. You can stay. You can stay.
Uh-huh. Send us some emails to school us, and if you're nice about it, then we will probably like it, and if you're not, then we probably won't.
Right, but either way, it'll be utterly useless because these episodes were filmed, 50 years ago or more?
Yeah, we're in, 66 or 67, something like that. I think it's when these were made.
Okay, so that's nearly 60 years ago.
Uh-huh. So in our previous episode, you mentioned watching Severance Season 2, which reminded me that I had actually almost started watching that recently. I watched the previously on Severance recap at the very start of Season 2, Episode 1. But during that recap, I was like, I should just rewatch Season 1 entirely before I start on Season 2. And then I'm only about halfway through doing that. So
nice. Yeah, no, that is a worthwhile rewatch in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
I had seen it previously, but my partner hadn't. And so yeah, I also rewatched Season 1 shortly before watching Season 2. And that was nice because Season 1, after it aired, I think we had to wait 2 or 3 years. I forget exactly how long.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, COVID messed up filming, and I think one of the actor strikes messed it up for a little bit. I was pretty worried it wasn't going to come back, but thankfully it did. And yeah, it was definitely good to get a more recent refresher on the events of Season 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting to Season 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really enjoying my rewatch as well. It's just a really well-made show and just has such weird shit happening.
Right. Yeah. And man, that theme song gets stuck in my head so bad. Doo-dee-doo-doo. But yeah, it's good. The whole thing is really well done. I forget the main writer's name, but I read that he came up with the concept working at some shitty 9-to-5 job. And he was like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just flip a switch and then go to work and do all the work and then flip a switch and you don't remember it. I hate this job so bad. I wish I could just erase it.
Uh-huh. And yeah, at first you're like, yeah, that would be awesome. But then you start thinking about the deeper implications and you're like, I don't know.
Right. Right. And I guess that's, exactly what he did when he was writing the show. He's like, actually, I figured out a way where I don't have to do a 9-to-5 job. Instead, nice. It'll be 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just kidding. I think they work long hours sometimes filming shows, but I don't know if he actually did.
Yeah, the writer might not have to work long hours necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's, I guess, kind of a segue. Not that anyone cares, but this will probably air after this happens, but I think I told you already, but listeners, I'm sure, will be totally nonplussed to find out that I did get a new job, which is starting in a couple weeks. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Basically not really for the most part because working sucks. But as far as workplaces go, this one seems to be cool. And it's hybrid. So unfortunately, I will be in an office 3 days of the week, but 2 days I get to stay home. And one of the coolest things about this workplace, which I guess probably I won't say here, I don't know. I don't think legally it's a problem, but just in case, I won't. But like, I was looking at their website and, you know, in these horribly racist times with a horrible racist running the country, erasing trans folk here and DEI programs there.
Right.
This particular workplace has all sorts of different DEI programs.
Nice.
They even added a B, which I think stands for belonging or something. They call it DEIB.
Huh.
And even on their website, I found like a reference condemning police brutality.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and like mentioned George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and stuff like that. I was like, damn, that is incredible for a capitalist company. I mean, I guess that's probably the best you can really expect. You can't expect them to actually do something about the underlying systems that cause all these problems.
Right.
But
because, they're still built on all those systems, but...
Right, exactly. But at least they're, kind of doing public tokens of being like, hey, we should make the slavery less bad, you guys. Come on.
And even saying that is more than a lot of other companies are doing these days. So
right, exactly.
You take what you can get.
Exactly. And in the meantime, use a VPN. Don't use AI, particularly not LLMs. And I guess try not to use, things like Amazon, Meta, X, shitter, I call it, or, any of those big, horrible programs, Microsoft.
Yeah.
All that shit's run by basically wannabe dictators or actual dictators.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Heavy on the dick part. So, I was searching around online recently and I found these pills that are meant to make you live forever. So I ordered them. So far, so good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be working out. I should get some of those.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I haven't died at all. So, yeah, that was this episode's journey, by the way.
Nice. So, speaking of fighting against evil dictators, shall we talk about the Scottish Highlanders?
Yes, let's get to it. So let's see, last episode we left off with Polly in a animal trap pit and with an ominous hand holding a dagger sticking over the edge of the pit, and Ben the doctor and some Highlanders had just got sold into slavery and to be eventually shipped off to the Caribbean.
Indeed. And we pick up with Polly in the pit, and in classic Doctor Who fashion, we immediately resolve this cliffhanger by revealing that the hand holding the dagger belongs to the Highlander lady, Kirsty.
So it was probably like a dirk.
Yeah, probably so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm not really sure what's the difference between a dirk and a dagger. I think they don't usually have handguards on dirks.
Oh, that could be.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's actually here to help Polly get out of the pit. And the GM rolls some dice for her since, she's an NPC. The GM rolls for her, and this does not go very well. and she actually ends up falling into the pit with Polly.
Oh, critical fail.
It's occurring to me that Polly and Kirsty are spending a lot of time together, so we should probably, I guess, start thinking of their ship name, Paulsty.
Yeah, Paulsty. It's kind of hard to say, but...
Yeah, Kierley, maybe?
Kierley. It's also hard to say. Probably Paulsty's the best one.
So, Polly has Kirsty bend over.
Good thing we started that ship already.
And she basically climbs onto Kirsty's back in order to, like, climb out of the pit. But as soon as she gets her head above pit level, she, like, ducks back down and gets back into the pit because there are English soldiers nearby.
Perhaps it's good that they fell in a pit now.
These are, of course, the English soldiers who are specifically looking for Polly and Kirsty. And the officer of these soldiers basically sends the other two soldiers on to keep searching for them while he decides to just kind of like stay here himself. And, you know, he gets out like his little camp chair and whatever.
Because of his weak constitution.
Right. Kirsty is basically like on the verge of breaking down and crying. She's like, you know, he's going to stay here. What the fuck are we going to do? She's being kind of useless, but Polly is, you know, still just like, fuck that. We're still, you know, active human beings who can make decisions and do things on our own. So let's fucking do some shit about this. And she comes up with a plan to lure this officer into the pit. The plan is basically to make some pretty fake sounding bird noises. But this plan works. She...
I mean, they could just be like, help, we're in a pit.
Yeah, she starts making some bird noises, and he goes to investigate, and he falls into the pit.
Nice.
And yeah, as soon as he falls in, they tie him up, and they rob him, and add some chicken and bread to their inventory.
Nice. You'd think they'd, like, you know, work him over with that dirk, since he was pretty much planning to do the same to them. It's nice that they, you know, just tied him up and left him, I guess.
Yeah. We cut over to this dungeon in Inverness where Ben and the Doctor and Jamie the Highlander are being held, and Jamie's injured father as well.
Wait, so the Highlanders named Jamie? I don't think you said that last episode. That's the main guy in Outlander. Or at least same name.
So I actually read online, it was a while ago that I read this, so I don't remember the full details, but I believe that character, like in the original Outlander books, was actually inspired by this character.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice. So it's like a Doctor Who episode of Outlander. Awesome.
So they're all in this dungeon. The sort of layout of the dungeon is basically that, like, the cells of the prison, quote unquote, are pits, and they've got, like, you know, grates over them, basically, that are like the doors that you can go in and out of. There's like a little stream of water kind of running through the floor of the pit. And notably, there are also water marks on the walls that are pretty high up. So they are being held in this place. It's not a great place to be, but Jaime says that King George has worse. The doctor comments that he's actually kind of starting to enjoy himself. And he shouts,
"Down with King George! You Jacobite pigs! You don't want to feel this bayonet!"
Jaime's like, "Oh, cool, so you actually support our prince." And the doctor's basically like, "Nah, actually, I don't really give a shit."
I just like hearing the echo, that's all.
Well, yeah, I guess you take your joy where you can find it.
Jaime is not sure if he believes that the doctor is actually a real doctor because he has not done any bloodletting on Jaime's dad.
Duh. I mean, every doctor would do that first.
Right. That's,
dude.
yeah, like first thing you do.
Too much blood, obviously.
The doctor basically just starts listing several zodiac signs, and then he asks Jaime like when his dad's birthday is, and then he says that bloodletting has to wait until Taurus is in the ascendant.
Kind of a valid, way to criticize such a silly practice. Like, oh, well, for a very silly reason is why we're not doing it.
And yeah, Jaime's like, "Oh, okay, like, yeah, that makes sense." The doctor is using this big piece of cloth that he got from Jaime to dress the dad's wounds. And he notices that Jaime's dad is protecting Prince Charles's personal standard. He has, like this big battle standard basically kind of wrapped around his torso. And the doctor takes it from him and hides it under his own coat. Jaime's like, "What the fuck?" And the doctor's like, "Do you think your dad has a chance of evading the gallows if he has that on him?"
Probably not.
The doctor pulls out his recorder and starts playing this Jacobite tune and gets all the prisoners like throughout the dungeon to basically start rowdily singing along with it. I will mention that they weren't actually singing any words that I could tell. I think they were just singing like na 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 or whatever. But
it's probably what the British think of like Gaelic. Pardon.
Yeah, so they're all singing along to this tune. The guard of the prison or of the dungeon has like previously already told them to be quiet. So he comes over to tell everyone to shut the fuck up. And as the guard approaches, the doctor like quickly hides his recorder and like keeps going with his fake German accent and basically complains to the guard that he's loyal to King George and the prisoners were all singing this Jacobite tune like to annoy him, and that he has just learned of a plot to murder the Duke of Cumberland, so he has to be taken to Solicitor Gray to like talk about this plot or whatever. The DM is like, that seems like kind of a stretch, but I guess give me a roll. And the doctor rolls in at 20. So the guards are like, "Okay, cool. I guess we will let you out of the dungeon."
Nice. It always pays to put points into charisma.
Yeah, seriously. Jaime is like, "IDK, man, your friend seems like he's kind of an asshole, just leaving us like here in the dungeon while he gets let out and stuff. And Ben is like, no, dude, he's going to come save us. He'll have a better chance of doing that if he's free himself than if he's locked up here with us. But Ben does like point out the high water marks on the walls. You know, there's this stream running through the dungeon, and presumably the water gets higher at some point. And Ben's like,
And tonight is not my bath night.
That's not for another week.
uh-huh.
This is Operative 23 sending a message from Resistance Outpost Alpha Charlie Alpha Bravo. I have a critical request which will help bolster the strength of our resistance forces. You must recommend the Doctor's Watcher to everyone you know. Friends, family, co-workers, even the person you sometimes see on the bus. This is the only way for our people's movement to succeed. Share the podcast and leave good reviews. If you do not do this, we will be forced to resort to...
We cut back to the pit, where Polly is counting how much money they got from robbing this officer, which is more money than Kirsty says she has seen in her life. It's like 20 guineas or something.
Nice.
They also have this officer's identification papers.
Aha, yes. Algernon Thomas Alfred Finch, 2 Fs, Lieutenant in the Honourable Colonel Atwood's Rifles. So, I bet the Colonel would be highly interested to hear how his Lieutenant for Finch was captured by 2 girls.
She cuts off a lock of his hair and also, like, I guess a button or something from his jacket, basically to have proof that they captured him. And Kirsty is like, what are you doing? And Polly explains that they need an ally in the enemy camp, and she thinks they've found one.
Right, Algernon?
Sheer blackmail.
Right again. Come on, Kirsty, let's go before his officer soldiers get back. Bye-bye, Algie, dear. We'll be seeing you in Inverness.
Nice. A lot of button-based intrigue going on in these past 2 serials.
Yeah, definitely. So she and Kirsty climb on out of the pit, leaving Algernon Finch in the pit, and they GTFO. Solicitor Gray is meeting with a sea captain. They are, in an inn in Inverness, and they are discussing the trading of enslaved humans that they both participate in and are planning to do, like, imminently this evening, when they are interrupted by this sentry showing up with the Doctor, who, of course, insisted on speaking to Gray about this plot against the Duke's life. Gray is like, all right, whatever. And when he and the Doctor are alone in the room, the Doctor just flat out tells him there's no plot. He shows Gray the Prince Charles Personal Standard inventory item, and he's basically like, the prisoner that I took this from probably knows where Prince Charles himself is, so let's find the prince together and then split the reward money.
Seems like he's playing a very dangerous game here.
Yeah, it really does. And as Gray is kind of like reacting to what the Doctor proposed, the Doctor basically just like throws the standard onto Gray's head, like over his face and whatever, and uses this distraction to grab the gun off of the table and hold Gray at gunpoint.
Nice.
He ties him up and then like sort of uses his sort of medical doctor persona to trick Gray into saying "ah," and then like stuffs a handkerchief into his mouth.
I've never seen a silent lawyer before.
True that.
There's a knock at the door, so the doctor basically shoves Gray into a closet and then answers the door to find Perkins, who's Gray's assistant or secretary or whatever. Perkins is surprised because he expected to find Gray here in Gray's office, but the doctor explains, still in his fake bad German accent, that Gray is very sick and he had to lie down. And then he suddenly starts going off about Perkins' eyes and like, you know, what's up with your eyes? I need to examine them. Come over here so I can look at your eyes or whatever. And he asks Perkins if he suffers from headaches. And when Perkins says that he doesn't, the doctor thumps Perkins's head onto the desk and then like asks him again.
Now you do.
It actually takes a couple of thumps, but Perkins does eventually agree that he has a headache. Nice. And the doctor says that it's because he reads too much and he suffers from print blindness.
Huh.
And Perkins is like, well, dude, I'm a clerk. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And the doctor says that he needs to rest his eyes and, you know, like lie down and rest his eyes for at least an hour. So he gets Perkins to basically just lie down like on the table of the inn, and he uses Perkins's tie to blindfold him. And then, you know, they start to hear some thumping from the closet that Gray's in. The doctor tells Perkins that it's coming from his eyes, it's all in his mind, and if he just rests for a while, the thumping will fade, and the doctor leaves.
This is some of the most violent and gun-wieldy times I think I can recall of these early doctors.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the doctor has previously been, like, specifically anti-gun, but in this serial, like, Ben has had a gun and the doctor, like, encouraged him to hold them up with it, and now he's doing the same thing with a gun, so...
Right, and, like, bashing the dude's head on the desk and whatnot. I don't remember him doing any head bashing before.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Some soldiers return to where they left Finch. They have failed to find Polly and Kirsty in their search, but of course when they get back to the meeting place, they find Finch still in the pit because he's like tied up and everything. Paulsty is long gone. And the soldier explains that, of course, they're willing to help the lieutenant get out of the pit, but, you know, this is not work that the soldiers are used to doing because officers don't usually fall into pits. So, you know, of course they will help, but they might be very slow and very dry. So Finch starts to offer them money to drink with, but very quickly realizes that, of course, he doesn't have any because Polly and Kirsty stole it all. So he says that they'll get it when they return to Inverness.
Man, no one likes to help a guy out of the pit all dry.
Seriously. The sea captain returns to the inn and finds Perkins still resting on the table and Gray still tied up in the closet. So, of course, he, unties everyone and whatever. Gray is upset at Perkins for having let the doctor go, but he sends Perkins to, summon the town watch or whatever to go look for the doctor. And basically tells the sea captain that he'd better finish loading all the prisoners onto his boat before the soldiers arrive. I believe that this slave trade that they are doing is actually illegal at this time. So if they get caught, by the soldiers, then they're going to get in trouble. So we cut to the inn's kitchen where, there's this old woman working until someone off screen calls her away. And when she's out of the kitchen, the doctor comes out of hiding. Apparently he's been in the kitchen this whole time. And he starts investigating. And he finds some bread and some fish and a bowl of flour. And apparently this gives him an idea. So he goes back to his hiding spot, which was basically behind some clothes hanging on a clothesline. And he uses these clothes to dress up as an old woman himself. Jamie and Ben and Jamie's dad all get dragged out of their dungeon cell, and they get escorted through the corridors of the inn. And, they actually walk right past the newly disguised old woman doctor without recognizing him at all. I'm pretty sure that he sees them, but he doesn't say anything.
Nice.
Jamie is still not sure if they can trust the doctor, if he actually believes that the doctor's going to save them. But Ben keeps insisting that he will. Jamie's pointing out that, they're running out of time for the doctor to save them. They're basically being taken to a rowboat to get loaded onto and, rowed out to the sea captain's ship. At one point during this process of getting loaded onto the rowboat, Ben thinks they might have a chance of making a break for it, but Jamie reveals that he can't swim. So there goes that.
Damn.
They basically just get loaded onto the rowboat and put into manacles. We get a scene back in the inn where the old woman doctor tells a guard that he has some broth, nice hot broth for Mr. Trask, the sea captain. But the guard says that he's gone, and the old woman doctor says that the guard should have it in that case.
Well, you have it off for such a pity to waste that nice hot broth.
All right, I'll have it. It's a cold night outside anyway.
I wasn't really sure, what was happening here in this scene, especially since, we're watching the reconstruction. But I guess that this somehow resulted in some door at the inn being left unguarded. I guess while the guard is drinking the broth or whatever. So the doctor heads through the door and finds a trapdoor in the next room. Meanwhile, the rowboat carrying Ben and Jamie arrives at the ship just in time to see a bound and wrapped up body get thrown overboard.
Belay there, you swabs! In case you're thinking of escaping, there's Jem Hughes for you. He didn't find it an happy ship, so he finds him another berth where he'll be happy. Once aboard the Annabelle, that's the only way you'll get off her. Straight downwards.
Brutal.
And yeah, with that, the music plays and the words say Doctor Who Patrick Troughton.
Wow, dang. I wonder if Jem Hughes was any distant relation of ours.
Yeah, probably.
Well, that's cool. I mean, how the hell is the Doctor gonna rescue Jamie and Ben now? Or maybe, oh crap, what did we say the ship name was?
Palsty.
Maybe Palsty will somehow rescue them with... Well, but they were going to the English camp or whatever, though, to blackmail the dude. Or maybe the Doctor will end up on the ship as the old lady ship's cook. Who knows?
Yeah, we're really breaking up the party, though.
Yeah, right. Dangerous times when you separate the party.
Polly's off with a useless NPC.
Right. Probably thinking, man, I can't wait to be rid of this one. Well, cool. Yeah, that's some nice historical intrigue happening. Some nice dunks on how dumb the British were and how kind of just messed up and inhumane they were back in that time.
Yeah, totally. I feel like the episode could go even harder on that, but it's definitely in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a British show,
and
so you kind of have
you can't expect too much.
Right. Of course, they're pulling punches about their own people.
Yeah. Yeah, and a British kids show at that, so...
Right, true. Yeah, we don't get to see how Jem Hughes was killed. We just get to see him dropped off the side. Well, cool. Yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be a very interesting serial so far. Nice and historical. Those can be fun sometimes.
Yeah, this definitely seems like one of the more interesting historical ones.
Yeah.
There's more going on than just like they show up and watch some history stuff happen and then leave.
Right. And seems like kind of less opportunities for them to be unwittingly racist about stuff.
Yeah, especially like since like we're kind of following the Highlanders and like going from their point of view.
Right, true. Well, cool. Yeah, I'd say this is shaping up pretty well so far. Do you have any further notes on this episode?
I think the only thing I wanted to note on this one was that, last time I watched that version that had like the voiceover narration kind of on top of the loose cannon reconstruction, I decided that seemed kind of unnecessary. So this time I found the loose cannon without the voiceover narration. And that was probably a better watching experience, I think.
Nice. Yeah, same thing applies to Blade Runner. I don't know if which versions you've seen of that, but there's a version with Harrison Ford doing Deckard's voiceover in different places, and it is just horrible. I think the director's cut's the good one. I forget what the cut is called. There's 5 or 6 different cuts of the movie, but you don't want the one with the voiceovers. It's awful.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have seen that one, but the most recent time I've watched it, which was a while ago, but the most recent time was definitely the director's, the good version, director's cut.
Nice. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, definitely thanks to Loose Cannon for pulling this one out of the mists of history and allowing us to enjoy it, at least some version of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually kind of fun, especially since we had fully animated last time, with the Loose Cannon, whether they're using telesnaps or making their own shots or whatever, we actually get to see Patrick Troughton play the Doctor. Obviously it's not as good as watching the actual episode, but it's cool to see him in person rather than animated.
Yeah, I imagine that is nice. Well, cool. Well, I can't wait to see how they get out of this predicament next time. Doctor Who style, it'll probably just be oh, well, we couldn't sail the ship because the weather was bad, so we're going to put y'all back on shore again, or, something. Uh-huh. But, yeah, I can't wait to find out whatever that is.
Nice. Yeah, me too.
Well, cool. Thanks, Kyle, for telling me about that good episode.
And thank you, Ryan, for listening to me talk all about Doctor Who.
And thanks, listeners, and also you're welcome, listeners, for me not attempting to do a horrible Scottish accent.
Yeah, same here. Or a horrible German accent.
Right. We could have done all sorts of horrible accents this episode, so you're welcome that we didn't do it. And thanks to Circuit 23 for managing to create the theme song for this podcast.
Indeed. And if you would like to contact us, then you can do that on Blue Sky at drwatcher.busky.social, and you can email us at thedoctorswatcher@gmail.com.
And for music-related comments or inquiries, circuit23.busky.social or circuit.23@gmail.
And if you would like to know more about Doctor Who and the Highlanders, tune back in 2 weeks.
Indeed. See you then, listeners.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's have a tune to cheer us all up.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd heard the last of that.
Dance, man! Well, you're a loyal Jacobite, aren't you? This is your tune. Come on, everybody, join in.
Down now.